We received a letter of intent via email on one of our listings, and I would like to, and I'm not going to give any buyers' names, but I'd like to kind of give some details, and then let's discuss whether or not is this a legitimate offer, because if you're listening and you're thinking of selling your home, you might very well get this type of offer from an investor who, in my opinion, is fishing to see what kind of deal they can get. So it says, hi, Modern. I assume they thought Modern, instead of Modern Traditions Realty Group, Modern was our first name. Yeah. I don't know what they thought our last name was. My name is blank. And I'm an investor interested in your client's property. After running my numbers, I believe we can make this deal a win-win.
Yes.
I'm not so sure that what he was proposing is a win-win, but he said that. The terms are listed below. I'm more than happy to hop on a three-way call with you and the seller to explain the offer and any questions the sellers may have. This is a non-traditional offer using a combination of seller finance and subject to terms. We will be taking over payments on your client's mortgage and paying out their equity in the form of a down payment and continued monthly payments. Please keep in mind, sellers will not pay for buyer's commission or closing costs. This results in a higher net cash to seller than a traditional cash offer, maybe over time, but not necessarily at closing.
Yeah.
The terms below are based on the information I have currently. If some of this information is incorrect or not correct, please contact me with the correct information so I can revise the offer. Upon acceptance, I will email a formal contract offer for review and signature. This was just sent just basically by email. Let's give the details. Yeah. Purchase price $515,000. Existing loan $239,000. Seller carryback loan $237,000 approximately. That's loan from seller to buyer. Down payment the buyer will make is $39,000, includes the seller's agent's commission, which means there might not be a whole lot left over for the seller when you think about it. Monthly payments of $999, 30-year amortization term. So at 3% interest, by the way.
Wow.
No buyer's agent, earnest money deposit 1%, closing costs paid by the buyer, flexible on the closing date and closing 30 days or less. No contingencies, 10-day option period, proof of funds. Says buyer will purchase the property by taking over the responsibility of the existing mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, HOA fees, and other liens or monthly expenses related to the property. The remaining equity will be paid by our down payment, followed by monthly payments. Our terms are fully negotiable, and we are interested in working with you to find the best solution. My question for you first, and this is not whether or not you would present this to the seller. This is whether or not this would be considered an official offer in the state of Georgia.
So I'm going to answer your question you don't want me to answer. I would present it anyways, but it's in writing, which meets one of the criterias. It's not really signed because you don't sign an email, but because it was presented in writing, I would go ahead and turn around and present that. Even though it doesn't look like an offer, it's named a letter of intent. He mentions offer several times in the email.
Yeah.
So I would go ahead and go through it with my client.
So I think you and I are the same. I would present this no matter what, but I don't think it meets the definition of an offer. Because it doesn't have any offer of exchange of anything. And to have a real offer, it has to be, I'm going to do this for you, you do this for me, and I've signed and obligated myself. And in the state of Georgia, as you know, all contracts related to real estate must be in writing. That's called the what? What's that called? I forget what that law is called. But you can't have a verbal or an oral agreement about real estate.
Yes.
It has to be in writing. But I think both of us agree that this is something that should be presented to the sellers. Now, is this something that you would say, yippee, this is so exciting, let me tell you what we got, sellers? Or is this something that you'd be looking at going, I'm not sure this is something we should consider?
So if I did not have a real estate agent and didn't have a background in real estate, it might look appealing. But I've been in real estate long enough, and there's lots of red flags.
Yep. Yeah.
And so the concern there, the biggest concern in my mind is that you are still liable for the mortgage that's on your property. Your name is on that mortgage, even if someone else is paying it for you. So if they stop paying that mortgage at some point, that's still on you to figure out.
That's exactly right. And think about it. So they want to pay $515,000. They want you to leave your existing loan in place, which is what you're saying, and you're still on the hook for it. Meaning, a payment gets missed, it is your credit as the seller that gets dinged. They also want you to have another mortgage in place, which would be a second mortgage in this case, behind your mortgage, second position behind your mortgage of $237,000, which means the buyer would only have $40,000 in cash invested in a $515,000 purchase. Now, for me, if I was going to do seller financing, that wouldn't be enough money.
Right.
To get my interest. Now, in the state of Georgia, our foreclosure laws make it fairly simple to get something back if someone's not paying for it. But I think there's lots of exposure here, and there is probably, and I haven't seen the mortgage on this property, but there's probably a due on sale clause in the mortgage which says to the borrower, to the homeowner, if you transfer title to this property, you must pay your mortgage off in full.
Right, which then puts you in a situation where you may unknowingly be committing some type of mortgage fraud.
Right. Now, my guess is if the lender continues to get payments, they probably would be none the wiser, but it doesn't change the fact that you would have violated your agreement with your lender.